Hello. I'm here in Friendship Forest today to describe to you what a tarologist is. If you look at a lot of my materials, you'll see me using that word, and I realize that it's not a very familiar word even to people who have been in metaphysical communities for the majority of their life. So I thought it might be helpful to offer the idea to you as something to toss around, a different way to think about someone who is engaging with tarot, and an invitation for you to try it yourself. I first ran into the word as I was reading Jodorowsky's books on his approach to tarot. So he uses it. His student Yov Ben-Dov also uses it. And there is a reader in New York named Enrique Enriquez, who is a professional poet, and he also uses it. These are the folks who have placed this word in their public life as tarot professionals, and who find a special meaning in it that distinguishes them from other folks reading tarot. Now, you will find this word being used by various professionals. Llewellyn Publishing offers the definition that it's just a way that tarot readers identify themselves, which, if people are doing that, then that's what they're doing. It's impossible to police the way that people use language, and often it is a way to draw lines in the sand that I don't feel like are really helpful. So this video is not how you must and must not use the word, but rather, it's to say that a lot of folks who engage with tarot have inherited their knowledge and their approach from the tradition of English spiritualists and occultists. And the way that they approach tarot was as a part of a larger system of metaphysical possibilities. And really, the more that I learn about astrology and what they contributed to that way of understanding energy affecting our lives, the more that I realize that a lot of that English tradition of reading tarot was based in applying astrological principles and ways of understanding the energy of the spheres to the way that the cards were laying on the table. So that often the positions in the spreads were made to feel a little bit more like houses. And the cards themselves were interpreted as having these planetary or constellation-related aspects that then, well, if they were in this house, in this particular position, in the spread, then that's how you interpret the card. So there's a deep sense of astrological interpretation going on as this tradition looks at tarot and decides how to interpret what they see. The majority of American intuitives are somehow informed by this method because the heritage of the books and a lot of the information that is out there comes from this English occultist tradition. The tarologist is looking primarily at the deck. And the way that Enrique Enriquez presents the idea is that tarology is a way of seeing the cards, thinking about the shapes in the cards, and interpreting our experience of visual forms in a way that relates to the information and associations that the forms in the cards make. In the documentary made about his methods, which I believe is called Tarology, you can find it here on YouTube, there are sequences in which Enrique is literally standing in the positions of the cards. And he has this look on his face as though he is reflecting on, how does this position make me feel? Does it have a particular meaning? Are there certain places where this position is very appropriate, very effective? other position or other places or situations where the situation would not work, where it would seem awkward or ineffective or even offensive. And so he is relating the visual information in each of the cards on the Marseille deck to things he has actually experienced. And that's a lot of the method that goes into his readings. He is helping people explore the world that they understand and the relationships that they've formed in their mind between things in this world by using the cards as an intercessor to offer a new way of seeing that world, new associations of meaning that those forms and experiences could blossom into. So for Enriquez, a lot of this tarology work is very visual, very artistically informed, and in a lot of ways somewhat surface. It's about what you see. And he discusses ways of using shared symbols like letters and like these visual forms in order to gain some depth and understanding and this almost comparison of statues. So he says, well, if you've got a form positioned this way here, and the same form seems to be positioned in a similar way here, but they're different situations, what is that repetition of form saying about those situations? It's very much about what is happening, what you see, what could be photographed and shared with somebody else in terms of, look at this form, what is it meaning to you? Jodorowsky takes a different tack and instead looks at the cards from a more psychosexual perspective. So he is saying tarology is this deep engagement with the cards and what they represent, but what they represent has to do with your origins, your psychology, the impact that male and female characters have had on your life, and how you are transforming those memories, those examples, into an example yourself. And you are learning to digest the lessons that you have learned from men, women, ideas about organization, care, how to exist in society, and you're processing all of that within you. This causes different kinds of obstacles and internal indigestion that can make it hard to move forward because you feel like something is so painful, so difficult, so insulting as far as the way that you expected the world to be and the kind of care that you know you really need, and you're having a hard time operating because of this obstacle. So Jodorowsky says, tarot is going to make all of this obvious to you. The images on the card are going to bring the layer of thought that you have a hard time verbalizing or accessing. They're going to take that, and with the images, they will allow that to rise to the surface so that you can see these things that you have been struggling with in a much clearer way, and the tarologist is going to help you to find a way past those obstacles, to digest this stuff that seems so hard, so painful, so impossible to accept. Now, these are the two people who have wrote the most extensively about what tarology is. The theme that they bring together is that they're really using the images on the cards as a basis for understanding life in general and what we ought to do to feel better, know better, and relate better to the folks who are around us. Tarology begins with accepting the cards as a mystery, as something that definitely relates to human life somehow, but it's got no instruction booklet. There is no direct interpretive guide that the creators made to help us figure out what all the symbols mean. Instead, we have to go through the same process that Enriquez and Jodorowsky are describing from the position of the folks who made these cards and think about, well, why did you make these choices? Also think about, if I'm looking at this image and it's impacting me, I'm feeling a complex of emotions, it's giving rise to different ideas, what are those for me? Not for the systems of learning that I've received, not for my superego that's telling me what I have to do, but as I look at this card, what does it imply about who I am and my relationship to the concepts of the Fool, the Juggler, the Pope? What do I mean in the shadow of the history of these things and the way that I think about them? These are the first steps to your tarological adventure. And eventually you'll find yourself associating many systems of knowledge with tarot. The key to tarology is keeping it open. Saying to yourself, well, here's one system that I could use. I often use the elemental and numerological systems that we find in ancient Greek thought. But there are many readings in which I will start down that road and I will realize that the energy I'm getting from the other person, or even the energy that I'm putting forward myself, is not very well interpreted by that system. And so I step back, I look at the card. I go deeper into what I'm feeling around me and start looking at details and try to figure out which details these feelings are the most related to. Then if I've got a spread in front of me, I'm looking for hints or echoes of those same details in the other cards. And this helps me begin to understand where those cards are leading me. There are other systems that can definitely be imposed on the cards. That's one of the beauties of tarot experience, is that as you are interacting with them, you're going to find them offering meaning to really wide parts of life, and as you think about it, you'll see more connections in the tarot that relate to that way of thinking, that way of experiencing, and vice versa. The flexibility of tarot cards is a lot of the reason that I got into them in the first place. They seem to apply to everything. The tarologist recognizes this, and that's why we keep our systems a little bit loose, but we never step away from thinking about how the images, the concepts, the structure within tarot echoes in various parts of our lives. Because if it really is this core that represents what it means to be human and the kind of experiences that we are capable of having, how we smoothly react to them so that we are learning, accepting, transforming based on the experiences and knowledges that we have. That's truly the most important part, that we put tarot into process no matter what experiences or systems are benefiting us right now, or that we are struggling with. Tarology accepts the mystery of tarot and emphasizes that mystery, allowing us to reflect on the hints and drives that culminate into our personal calling. Because that image on the judgment card, that there is something ethereal that is being summoned up to a greater plane of perspective, of understanding, of processing what's really important. And we're constantly being offered this chance to take a step up, see things further, go a little deeper. But we can't be doing it all the time. We have to have experiences and learn in order to have that experience culminate into something that will have meaning, not just for ourselves, but that we can share to others. And so tarology is a mode of using the cards to help yourself, to help other people make these ascensions. And whatever other ideas you apply to it are helpful in terms of communicating, but as my favorite philosopher of religion points out as the theme in his book, The Religious Case Against Belief, setting some system in stone within ourselves and saying to ourselves, I understand this, I have the complete way and perspective, and I'm always going to know what to do, that takes away from the possibilities of surprise that you are here to have in life. You are meant to be startled by your own existence. And pulling out your cards will help you understand why you have been startled, where that is guiding you, and it'll help you get a stronger sense of what steps to take further, so that no matter how much you've been shaken up by your experiences, you've got something else to do that'll give you ground to stand on and a chance to process. So thank you very much for listening. It is always a privilege to have folks taking in this information and thinking about it. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you are looking to develop a long-term relationship with someone to guide you through the tarot, please consider checking out my Patreon and subscribing. You'll not only be supporting my ability to give this information to others, but it's a chance for you to grow in tarot yourself and have a greater sense of where those symbols are involved in your life and the transformations that they are offering to you. Have a fabulous day and take care.